If the work demanded by any labyrinth means penetrating or escaping it, the question of process becomes extremely relevant. For instance, one way out of any maze is to simply keep one hand on a wall and walk in one direction. Eventually, the exit will be found. Unfortunately, where the house is concerned, this approach would probably require an infinite amount of time and resources. It cannot be forgotten that the problem posed by exhaustion, a result of labor, is an inextricable part of any encounter with a sophisticated maze. In order to escape, then, we have to remember we cannot ponder all paths, but must decode only those necessary to get out. We must be quick and anything but exhaustive. Yet, as Seneca warned in his Epistulae Moralis 44, going too fast also incurs certain risks. Quod evenit in labyrintho properantibus, ipsa illos velocitas implicat. Note 139. This is what happens when you hurry through a maze. The faster you go, the worse you are entangled. Editors. Words worth taking to heart, especially when taking into account Pascal's remark, found in Paul de Man's Allegories of Reading. Si on lit trop vite ou trop doucement, on n'entend rien. If one reads too quickly or too slowly, one understands nothing. Editors. Note 135. Previously read. End note. Unfortunately, the anfractuosity of some labyrinths may actually prohibit a permanent solution. More confounding still, its complexity may exceed the imagination of even the designer. Note 140. Ita Daedalus implet innumeras errore vias vixque ipse reverti ad limen potuit, tanta est fallacia tecti. Ovid, Metamorphoses 8, 1, 166 to 168. So Daedalus made those innumerable winding passages, and was himself scarce able to find his way back to the place of entry, so deceptive was the enclosure he had built. Horace Gregory, however, offers a slightly different translation. So Daedalus designed his winding maze, and as one entered it, only a wary mind could find an exit to the world again. Such was the cleverness of that strange arbor. Page 220. Editors. Struck through text. Or in other words, shy from the sky. No answer lies there. It cannot care, especially for what it no longer knows. Treat that place as a thing unto itself, independent of all else, and confront it on those terms. You alone must find the way. No one else can help you. Every way is different. And if you do lose yourself, at least take solace in the absolute certainty that you will perish. Note X, previously read. End note. Therefore, anyone lost within must recognize that no one, not even a god or an other, comprehends the entire maze, and so therefore can never offer a definitive answer. Navidson's house seems a perfect example. Due to the wall shifts and extraordinary size, any way out remains singular and applicable only to those on that path at that particular time. All solutions, then, are necessarily personal. Note 141. I'm not sure why, but I feel like I understand this on an entirely different level. What I mean to say is that the weird encounter with Tatiana seems to have helped me somehow. As if getting off was all I needed to diminish some of this dread and panic. I guess Thumper was right. Of course, the downside is that this new discovery has left me practically beside myself. by which I mean pre-epic. Last night, I made the rounds. I called Tatiana, but she wasn't home. Amber's machine picked up, but I didn't leave a message. Then, as the hours lengthened and a particular heaviness crept in on me, I thought about Thumper. In fact, I almost went down to where she works, to that place where I could be alone with the falling light and shadow play, where I could peek in ease, unhurried, unmolested, a notion which has suddenly, as it crossed my mind suddenly, and for no apparent reason either, made me feel terribly uncomfortable. I called Lude instead. He gave me Kyrie's number. No answer. Not even a machine picked up. I called Lude back, and an hour later we were losing ourselves in pints of cider at Red. For some reason, I had with me a little bit Zampano wrote about Natasha. See Appendix F. I found it some months ago, and immediately assumed she was an old love of his, which, of course, may still be true. Since then, however, I've begun to believe that Zampano's Natasha also lives in Tolstoy's garrulous pages. Yes, amazingly enough, I finally did get around to reading War and Peace. Anyway, that evening, as coincidence would have it, a certain Natasha was dining on vegetables and wine. Rumor was, or so Lude confided, I've always loved the way Lude would confide a rumor. Her mother was famous, but had been killed in a boating accident. Unless you believed another rumor, which Lude also confided, that her father was the one who had been killed in a boating accident, though he was not famous. What did it matter? Either way, Natasha was gorgeous. Tolstoy's prophecy brought to life. Lude and I quarreled over who would approach her first. Truth be known, I didn't have the courage. A few pints later, though, I watched Lude heave over to her table. He had every advantage. He knew her, could say hello and not appear obscene. I watched, my glass permanently fixed to my mouth so I could drink continuously, though breathing proved a bit tricky. Lude was laughing, Natasha smiling, her friends working on their vegetables, their wine. But Lude stayed too long. I could see it in the way she started looking at her friends, her plate, everywhere but at him. And then Lude said something, no doubt an attempt to save the sitch. Little did I know that I was the one being sacrificed. That is, until he started pointing over at the counter, at me. And then suddenly she was looking over at the counter, at me, and neither one of them was smiling. I lifted the base of my glass high enough to eclipse my face, and paid no mind to the stream of cider spilling from either side, foaming in my lap. When I lowered my deception, I saw Natasha hand Lude back a piece of paper he had just given her. Her smile was curt. She said very little. He continued the charade, smiled quickly, and departed. Sorry, Huss, Lude said as he sat down, unaware that the scene had turned me to stone. You didn't just tell her that I wrote that for her, did you? I finally stuttered. You bet. Hey, she liked it. Just not enough to dump her boyfriend. I didn't write that. A blind man wrote it. I yelled at him, but it was too late. I finished my drink, and with my head down, got the hell out of there, leaving Lude behind to endure Natasha's pointed inattention. Heading east, I passed by Muse and stopped in at El Coyote, where I drank tequila shots until an Australian gal started telling me about kangaroos and the Great Barrier Reef, and then ordered something else, potent and green. A while ago, over a year, 2 years. She had seen a gathering there of very, very famous people speaking sensorially of things most perverse. She told me this with great glee, her breasts bouncing around like giant Pac-Men. Who cared? Fine by me. Did she want to hear about Natasha? Or at least what a blind man wrote? When I finally walked outside, I had no idea where I was. Orange lights burning like sunspots, initiating weird riots in my head, while in the ink beyond a chorus of coyotes howled. Or was that the traffic? And no sense of time either. We stumbled together to a corner, and that's when the car pulled over. A white car? VW Rabbit? Maybe, maybe not. I strained to see what this was all about. My Australian gal giggling. Both Pac-Men going crazy. She lived right around here somewhere, but wasn't that funny? She couldn't remember exactly where, and me not caring, just squinting, staring at the white car as the window rolled down and a lovely face appeared, tired perhaps, uncertain too, but bright nonetheless, with a wry smile on those sweet lips. Natasha leaning out of her car. I guess love fades pretty fast, huh? Note 142. Note 142 has been erased. End note. Winking at me then, even as I shook my head, as if that kind of emphatic shaking could actually prove something, like just how possible it is to fall so suddenly, so hard. Though for it to ever mean anything, you have to remember, and I would definitely remember, which I kept telling myself, as that white car, her car, sped off. Bye-bye, Natasha, whoever you are. Wondering then if I would ever see her again, sensing I wouldn't, hoping senses were wrong, but still not knowing. Love at first sight having been written by a blind man, albeit sly. Passionate, too. The blind man of all blind men. Me. I don't know why I just wrote that. Though I would still love her despite being unblind, even if I had all of a sudden started dreaming then of someone I'd never met before, or had known all along. No, not even Thumper. Wow, am I wondering. Maybe Natasha, after all, so vague, so familiar, so strange, but who really and why? Though at least this much I could safely assume to be true. Comforting, really, a wild ode mentioned at New West Hotel of a wine infusions, light, lit, lofted on very entertaining moods, yawning in return, open nights, inviting everyone's song, with me losing myself in such a dream, over and over again, too, until that Australian gal shook my arm, shook it hard. Hey, where are you? Lost, I muttered, and started to laugh, and then she laughed, and I don't remember the rest. I don't remember her door, all those stairs to the second story, the clatter we made making our way down the hall, never turning on the lights, the hall lights or her room lights, falling onto the futon on her floor. I can't even remember how all our clothes came off. I couldn't get her bra off. She finally had to do that. Her white bra. Ah, the clasp was in front, and I'd been struggling with the back, which was when she let the Pac-Man out and ate me alive. Yeah, I know, the dots here don't really connect. After all, how does one go from a piece of poetry to a heart-wrenching beauty to the details of a drunken one-night stand? I mean, if you could connect those dots, which I don't think you can, what kind of picture would you really draw? There was something about her pussy. I do remember that. In fact, it was amazing how hairy it was. Thick coils of black hair, covering her, hiding her, though when fingered and licked, still parting so readily for the feel of her, the taste of her, as she continued to sit on top of me, just straddling my mouth, and all the time easing slightly back, pushing slightly forward, even when her legs began to tremble, still wanting me to keep exploring her like that, with my fingers and my lips and my tongue, the layers of her warmth, the sweet folds of her darkness, over and over again. The rest I'm sure I don't remember, though I know it went on like that for a while. Up in the sky high, off to the side eye, all of us now sigh, right down the drain nigh. Just a ditty, I guess. Later, I don't even know how much later, she said we'd been great, and she felt great, even though I didn't. I didn't even know where I was, who she was, or how we'd done what she said we'd done. I had to get out, but fuck, the sun hurt my eyes. It split my head open. I dropped her number before I reached the corner, then spent a quarter of an hour looking for my car. Something was beginning to make me feel panicky and bad again. Maybe it was to have been that lost, to lose sense, even a little bit, about some event. And was I losing more than I knew? Larger events? Greater sense? In fact, all I had to hold on to at that moment, as I cautiously pointed the old car to that place I had the gall to still call a home, never again, was her face, that wry smile, Natasha's, seen but unknown, found in a restaurant, lost on a street corner, gone in a wind of traffic, as in to wind something up. I looked at my hands. I was holding onto the steering wheel so tightly. All my knuckles were shiny points of white, and my blinker was on. Click, 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 click. So certain, so plain, so clear, and yet for all its mechanical conviction, blinking me in the wrong direction. End note 141. As with previous explorations, exploration number 4 can also be considered a personal journey. While some portions of the house, like the Great Hall for instance, seem to offer a communal experience, many intercommunicating passageways encountered by individual members, even with only a glance, will never be re-encountered by anyone else again. Therefore, in spite of, as well as in light of, future investigations, Holloway's descent remains singular. When his team finally does reach the bottom of the stairway, they have already spent 3 nights in that hideous darkness, their sleeping bags and tents successfully insulating their bodies from the cold, but nothing protecting their hearts from what Jed refers to as the heaviness which always seemed to him to be crouching, ready to spring, just a few feet away. While everyone enjoys some sense of elation upon reaching the last step, in truth they had only brought to a conclusion an already experienced aspect of the house. None of them are at all prepared for the consequences of the now unfamiliar. On the morning of the 4th day, the 3 men agree to explore a new series of rooms. As Holloway says, "We've come a long way. Let's see if there's anything down there." Wax and Jed do not object, and soon enough they are all wending their way through the maze. As usual, Holloway orders numerous stops to procure wall samples. Jed has become quite handy with his chisel and hammer, cutting out small amounts of the blackened ashen substance which he deposits into one of the many sample jars Reston equipped him with. As had been the case even on the stairway, Holloway personally takes responsibility for marking their path. He constantly tacks neon arrows to the wall, sprays neon paint on corners, and metes out plenty of fishing line wherever the path becomes especially complicated and twisted. Note: square. Aside from the practical aspect of fishing line, a readily available and cheap way to map progress through that complicated maze, there are, of course, obvious mythological resonances. Struck through text. Minos' daughter, Ariadne, supplied Theseus with a thread which he used to escape the labyrinth. End struck through text. Thread has repeatedly served as a metaphor for an umbilical cord, for life, and for destiny. The Greek fates, called moirai, or the Roman fates, called fata or parsai, spun the thread of life and also cut it off. Curiously, in Orphic cults, thread symbolized semen. End note square. Oddly enough, however, the farther Holloway goes, the more infrequently he stops to take samples or mark their path. Obviously deaf to Seneca's words. Jed is the first to voice some concern over how quickly their team leader is moving. You know where you're going, Holloway? But Holloway just scowls and keeps pushing forward in what appears to be a determined effort to find something different, something defining, or at least some kind of indication of an outsideness to that place. At one point, Holloway even succeeds in scratching, stabbing, and ultimately kicking a hole in a wall, only to discover another windowless room with a doorway leading to another hallway, spawning yet another endless series of empty rooms and passageways, all with walls potentially hiding and thus hinting at a possible exterior, though invariably winding up as just another border to another interior. As Gerard Eisneck famously described it, insides and inness, never inside out. Note 143. Gerard Eisneck's Breakthrough, not a Breakthrough, Heuristic Hallways in the Holloway Venture, proceedings from the Navidson Record Semiotic Conference tentatively entitled Three Blind Mice and the Rest as Well, American Federation of Architects, June 8, 1993, reprinted in Fisker and Weinberg, 1996. End note 143. This desire for exteriority is no doubt further amplified by the utter blankness found within. Nothing there provides a reason to linger, in part because not one object, let alone fixture or other manner of finish work, has ever been discovered there. Note 144, enclosed in a blue box. Not only are there no hot air registers, return air vents or radiators, cast iron or other or cooling systems, condenser, reheat coils, heating convector, damper, concentrator, dilute solution, heat exchanger, absorber, evaporator, solution pump, evaporator recirculating pump, or any type of ducts, whether spiral lock seam, standing rib design, double wall duct, and lolos, TMT, flat oval or round duct with perforated inner liner, insulation, and outer shell. No HVAC system at all, even a crude air distribution system. There are no windows, no water supplies. Same text, mirrored. Drains, bathtubs, urinals, sinks, drinking fountains, water heaters or coolers, expansion tanks, pressure relief valves, flow control, branch vent, downspout, soil stacks or waste stacks, or fire protection equipment, smoke detectors, sprinklers, flow detectors, dry pipe valve, OS and Y, gate valve, water motor alarm, visual annunciation devices, hose rack and hose reel, whether a 2.5 inch or 1.5 inch valve, foam systems, gaseous suppression systems, nor any sign of daisy chain wiring or star wiring or electrical metallic tubing, EMT, rigid conduit, wireways, bus ducts, underfloor ducts. Same text, mirrored. A cellular floor, a raised floor, or for that matter, wire of any sort. Number 36 to number 0000, number 4/0, or electrical boxes, 3 duct junction boxes, etc., etc., or plug-in receptacles, 3-prong grounded duplex or other, pots or pans or cans or switch plate switches, whether swing pole, dimmer or remote, or circuit breakers or fuses, whether lead, tin, copper, silver, etc., etc., with a voltage class from 12, 24, 125, 250, 600, 5000 plus, or even lights, whether electrical discharge, incandescent, or combustion, no flame arc or gas-filled, tipless, inside frosted, decorative, general service, 10,000 watt aviation Same text, mirrored. To studio, projection signal, Christmas tree, arc projector, photo flood, mercury, sodium, glow, sun, flash, blacklight. Water-cooled, germicidal, Purple X, ozone, fluorescent, slimline, lumaline, circline, rough service, Q-coated, bonus A-line, 75,000 watt, quartz line, special service, DVY, DFC, iodine cycle, axial quartz, halogen cycle, bipost, heat brooder, Red Bull therapy, silver neck brooder, quartz infrared, bent end infrared, iodine cycle infrared, RSC base, red filter, Mark 300, Lucalox, multivapor, E-bulb mercury, 1500 watt multivapor, Watt Miser 2, Magic Cube, same text, mirrored. Flash bar, flip flash, GE 500, composite, discharge toward lighting. Precise, 35.5 lumens, white, Lucalox, standby Lucalox, high output Lucalox, Halarc 32 watt, Halarc 100 watt, Stay Bright XL, high intensity biax, metal halide, to say nothing of communication systems such as public address, intercom, radio, TV, CCTV, SATV, VSAT, telephone, PAX or BPX, etc., or data, signal, multimedia designs. On BAS, BMS, BMAS automation, there are not even any moldings or other stylistic signatures such as casings, baseboards, or finished floors. Linoleum, cement, weather, same text, mirrored. Fast setting, colored, fiber reinforced, self-leveling mortar, high early strength, sand mix, silica sand, plastic, hydraulic, or sheet vinyl, tile, cork tile, terrazzo, rubber, carpeting, epoxy, ceramic and stone, slate, aputiziarvac, or marble, whether white, Danby Imperial, Colorado Yule, or Carrara, or black, or green, or hardwood, whether overlay, strip flooring with alternate joints, or herringbone, inlaid, basket weave, Arenberg, Chantilly, or Versailles parquet. In fact, no wood anywhere, whether redwood, treated western hemlock, yellow pine, cedar, wood polymer, Engelmann spruce. Same text, mirrored. Pecan, southern magnolia, Colorado spruce, alpine fir, American beech, northern red oak, Canada hemlock, red maple, sugar maple, eastern white pine, butternut hickory, shagbark hickory, American plane tree, eastern black walnut, ponderosa pine, white fir, northern catalpa, common bald cypress, American sweet gum, bur oak, California live oak, mahogany, Douglas fir, eastern cottonwood, nor any sign of a subfloor, sheathing, drywall, any kind of insulating material, polyethylene or other, sills, sill plates, sill sealer, rebar, anchor bolts, let alone footings or foundation walls, or same text, mirrored. Bricks, whether split paver or red bullnose, or wall studs, fire-stopping or braces, nor evidence of floor joists, end joists, or ledges, bridgings, girders, double plate, gable studs, ceiling joists, rafters, king posts, struts, side posts, ridge beams, collar ties, gussets, furring strips, or bed molding, at least the stairs offer some detail, risers, treads, two large newel posts, one at the top and one at the bottom, capped and connected with a single curb banister supported by countless balusters, though among other things no wallpaper, veneer plaster, Baldwin locks, any sign of glass. Same text, mirrored. Whether clear, reflective, insulated, heat-resistant, switchable, tinted, bad guy, antique, or even tin-plated steel, factory-painted steel, brass, or even a single nail or screw, whether sheet metal, particle board, drywall, concrete, drive, aluminum, silicon, bronze, solid brass, mechanically galvanized, yellow zinc-plated, stainless steel, epoxy-coated, black-finished, Duracoat, to say nothing of the sheer absence of anything that might suggest a roof, weather-pitched, gable, hip, lean-to, flat, sawtooth, monitor, ogee, bell, dome, helm, sloped, hip and valley, conical, pavilion, rotunda, same text, mirrored, imperial, or mansard, no westwork, ziggurat, prise soleil, trompe-l'oeil, etc., fenestration, tierceron rib, coffering, thallus strapwork, stoa, egg and tongue, sala terrena, absidial, rotunda, revetments, reredos, flying buttresses, retablo, herm, belvedere, pavillon, pastas, narthex, lunettes, dormers, cottage ornée, pendentives, cheek walls, cavetto, abutment, nor vaulted chambers, whether quadripartite or lierne vaults, or mirab domes, turrets, minarets, minbars, porticos, peristyles, tablinums, compluviums, impluviums, atriums, alas, exedras, androns, fosses, same text, mirrored. Decums, peristylums, vestibules, arcades, apses, naves, naus, pronaus, opisthodemos, nyphaeum, internal crepidoma, courtyards, parade grounds, bailey, demilune, caponiere, tenaille, flank, postern, rampart, face, bastion, embrasure, curtain, keep, brattice, merlin, or battlement, nor, obviously, pilasters, pillars, friezes, entablatures, architraves, facades, pediments, stylobates, triglyphs, scotia, taurus, fillets, finials and flutes, capitals, whether Ionic, Doric, or Corinthian, with volutes, abacuses, rosettes, acanthus leaf, or metopes, gutters, mutules, acriterions, dentils, or same text, mirrored. Modillions, or even trefoil. Tudor, stilted, horseshoe, ogee, lancet, or equilateral arches, most probably resembling basket handle, though without any sign of a keystone, pier, spandrel, voussoir, springer, or import. Struck through text. Picture that in your dreams. And struck through text. Same text, mirrored. White-filled box. Black-filled box. End note 144.